Good afternoon. It is Shannon Bingham, Mrs. Midwest International 2024, and I am going to go live today on the Adoption Connection with a good friend of mine, and she is fantastic, and you guys are going to love her. So I'm just it's a beautiful Sunday. It's a little snowy, a little icy earlier today, but it is great. So today we are going to be talking to Nicole about her adoption journey. I'm so excited to see if she's on. So I know that I have invited her. Let's see if I can get her on. And I will go through her bio while we're waiting on her. We're super excited to have her. There she is. Let's see if I can't get her to join, accept. Let's see if I can get her on, guys, now. I think she's going to be jumping on. All right, let's see. Nicole, go ahead and hit accept if you haven't seen it. But we're excited. Nicole is actually a closed adoptee, and she's always been struggling with a mix of feelings with her identity. And it's going to be great to talk about her adoption journey because it's propelled herself forward and helping other people feel less alone with adoption. Let me see if I can't get her one more time. It's always a fun thing to get people up here. Hey, there
Hey
she
girl, hey.
is. What's up, my friend?
Nothing. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely, you are
Awesome.
perfect. So I'm just reading through your bio, and I was gonna say, as a closed adoptee, you've always struggled with kind of your identity in adoption, and you're using your adoption now to propel yourself forward. We're feeling less alone with people that you're surrounding yourself with and helping you do that. So along with your adoption, you're also advocating for mental health and also striving to inspire others to pursue their passions. And now you've become an author, and I'm so
Yeah.
excited for you, and an advocate. So we want to serve, you are serving as a guide towards self-help and others having empathy for themselves and others. Holy cow, you have a list going at your age, girl. I am so excited for you. Me and you know each other because you have been connected with me through the magazine The Edge, and you have been a part of that team for quite a while, and we have always connected, and there's always been something different about you, and I've always watched your journey. And just recently you were joining me to go down and advocate for a piece of legislation in front of some senators too. So excited to have you on today. Thank you for joining me on the Adoption Connection. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here and just I'm so happy that you started just this account and this movement and just to raise awareness and be able to connect with the community of other adoptees, adoptive families, and just really help raise awareness, educate people, and form that community. So no, I'm very happy to be here and honored to talk about my experiences.
Well, it's so cool because and we're different in some ways when it comes to adoption, because I'm an adoptive mom of an open adoption where I do know the family, and you're in a closed adoption. So you do not know your biological family, and you have an adoptive family here in the States. Tell me a little bit about how that started for you as a young child.
Yeah, I mean, there never was really a moment where it was like, you're adopted and things like that. I mean, it just kind of flowed naturally, I guess. But I mean, I learned about it more as I got older. I didn't really know that there was something called closed adoptions. I thought that, I guess, the limited information I have with my birth family, I guess I thought that was normal. And then I realized, like, oh, there's semi-open adoptions, open adoptions, and I guess it's been an emotional journey and still definitely is, just feelings of unknown and kind of like, um, you know, why me? Why don't I get to know this information? Even though I am blessed with the family I have. So yeah, it's been an emotional journey, but I think as I've gotten older, been able to connect with more people in the adoption community, it's really helped me feel a lot more at peace, more whole, and just use any sad or negative emotions I do have with that to propel me forward, and just because there's a lot of beautiful and amazing things with it as well. So
Yeah, and honestly, I think a lot of adoptees, such as yourself, struggle with so many different emotions of maybe I'm not good enough, or getting right to the meat of it, like, what's my purpose? Like, this, what is this path for? Why was I
Mm-hmm.
put here? And those are the things that I've kind of watched develop with even my own son, even knowing his biological family. So it's definitely interesting to me, in a closed adoption, because you're even that much more aware of the fact that you're, I don't want to say displaced from where you were, but it's a new thing for you to try to discover who you are in a different environment.
100%. I mean, I had just connected with a girl the other day who's adopted, and she ended up finding her birth mom online. I mean, talking with you, you know, you had said that you were in the room when Seth was born. That is just incredible to me. And then me, I mean, I'm like, you know, I don't know my birth parents' names. I just have like three pieces of info on them, a short paragraph that tells their story on how they met, how she had me, and things like that. So yeah, it is so um, fascinating to hear just from other adoptees, people who went through the same adoption agency I did, adoptive parents, and just um, yeah, just learn about everyone's experiences, hearing people use the words like birth mom and things like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like people who get it and things, the people who are in that world. So yeah, I mean, it has been quite the experience, and I've been very blessed for sure.
What's funny is when Seth was a kid, I called his birth mom Bio Mom because I thought it sounded more like a superhero.
I love that.
Honestly, the parents that make these decisions, they're the hardest decisions to make, and they're the strongest people, I believe, on the planet. Because I mean, just to have to be able to make that decision at that time to keep you, to have you, and to decide that this is the best route. That's a very selfless thing, I feel. So, just to encourage that, thought process inside of a honoring the birth mom or honoring your bio mom, and stuff. So,
Absolutely.
but what's also cool about you is you have such supportive parents, and I think that's such a huge help for someone that is trying to find their identity. And when you have some people that are in your life that are constant, consistent, and helpful and stable and consistent in your life, because it does help you be able to feel confident about your journey. Tell me a little bit about your parents and their journey with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing I really enjoy about connecting more with the adoption community is there's so many reasons that people choose adoption, whether it's like infertility issues, you know, they just want to adopt, or other reasons. And so, you know, with my parents, they wanted to expand their family after they had my sister, and unfortunately losing two kids, you know, that was a lot of hardships they had to go through. But they still knew they wanted my sister to have a sibling. They wanted to have another child, but unfortunately, just, you know, having more biological children wasn't working in their favor. So going the adoption route, you know, and even learning for them that there was difficulties there trying to adopt through Nebraska, because if you're a parent and like you can technically have a kid, but you're like there's no like issues, you're just choosing to, they put you further down on a list versus someone who like actually can't have a kid and things like that. Um, so the timing of that, and you know, they didn't want to wait years and years to be able to expand their family, and so that's when they looked at international. And then just, you know, learning about all of the different countries' requirements and just kind of like seeing, you know, there was like some of the countries would require the parents to be married a certain amount of time, certain amount of kids they can have. Are they willing to travel to the country? It was just so interesting to see that. And then Korea was the one that they checked all the boxes on. And so they didn't go to Korea to get me, but I was brought from Korea to an airport in Iowa. And so my family drove up there and met with me there, and the rest is history. And I was 4 months old at the time.
It's incredible. And then I think in growing up in an area where you would be, I would consider maybe a minority, um, how did that impact you early on? Did you feel like you were different? Did you feel like was the adoption, like, was that part of your journey also when you were a kid? And how did your parents handle that?
Yeah, it definitely affected me the most when I was younger, for sure. Because again, it wasn't ever like it's not like my parents sat me down and they were like, "Oh, you're adopted,"
Right.
things like that. But I also have never viewed them as my white parents, and they've never viewed me as their Asian
Good.
daughter. It's just we're a family.
Yep.
Growing up in a small town, I mean, everybody knew that, you know, I was adopted, and it was like whatever. But I still would always feel very, very, very left out, very just like I didn't
Hmm.
fit in. And I think it was a mix of like, you know, being a minority who was in a white family in a very predominantly white town. And so I would constantly see, I barely had anyone who like looked like me
Hmm.
growing up and who understood what I was going through. And you know, my family would do everything they could to support me, and they did. But there was always still those feelings in the back of my mind. People who just were like not necessarily ignorant, but maybe didn't know the right
Yep.
words to say. Like I remember one time someone asking me like, "Oh, who do you love more, your real mom or your white mom or something like that?" And I was like, "They're both my real mom." Like
Yeah.
just terms like that. And so it was really difficult to grow up, you know, just with that identity piece. But as I've gotten older, been able to be exposed to other people of different races, and then also even see people who look like me, meet other people who are adopted. It's
Like
fascinating.
Wilson.
Like, Wilson, and I think sometimes people, and I went to an adoption camp when I was younger, and it was like all these Asian
Oh, cool.
adoptees, and it was awesome. Yeah. Um, but I think also sometimes people can assume like, or they'll just, if they think of adoption, they'll think of, you know, two families of different races, like a white and a black kid, or an Asian and a white family. And it's not always like that.
No.
I've met a lot of people in Omaha and in Lincoln that it's
Mhm.
they're both white, and like maybe they do kind of look like their parents or whatever, and people never suspect it. And so it's been really cool to just meet people from all walks of life, learn like their adoption stories, connect with them over just being adopted. And yeah, so it definitely was harder um, growing up. But as I've moved somewhere where it's a lot more diverse, I've expanded my network and been able to meet so many other people in the adoption community. I mean, I only have positive things to say.
Yeah, and it fuels you at this stage of life because now you're like, I've got a purpose. And recently you have published a book, and that book has just launched for you. And so tell me a little bit about your book, and also tell me what inspired you initially to share your adoption story.
Yeah, you know, I always knew that I wanted to publish a book. I just didn't know what about. And so I kind of did some brainstorming on just like the most important topics to me or most significant events. And, you know, adoption, my racial identity, and mental health were the first three that came to my mind. And so it's a memoir that focuses on all of those facets of my life and how they kind of intertwine with each other, and just kind of show how, like, through any ups and downs in life's difficulties that we go through, like things can definitely suck at times, but they
Right.
always like they can get better. And I want people to be able to see facets of themselves in my words and just empathize and know that they're not alone in anything they go through. And so I kind of uh, take people on a journey with my adoption story on, like, you know, what adoption is, why was I adopted, how did I get to where I am, and then growing up, how, you know, being an international adoptee and closed adoptee affected me growing up, how that's kind of helped like cause some difficulties with like my identity, and then how that mentally has impacted me and gotten me to where I am today. And so I just felt it was very important, even though, you know, I I know not everyone reading my book is necessarily adopted
Right.
or struggling with like anything like with their race. I mean, there are a lot of things in my book that I know people can resonate with, and I wanted to educate people on the world of adoption, mental
Yeah.
health, things like that. And so that's always been my hope, and I do think I've accomplished that, which has been an incredible feeling. And yeah, that's just been an awesome journey in itself.
And I think that that's part of my heart too, is just educating people that aren't around it. There's so many adoptees that are out there right now, or adoptive families, or even birth moms walking around, and you never know who you're talking to. And I just was at a gathering the other day where I heard someone say about their baby, well, she's up for adoption if you want to, like, and I was like, oh, okay. And then they're like, well, your mom doesn't know what she's talking about, she's too cute to give up. I'm like, if my son was in the room when those conversations were happening with somebody that was uneducated about adoption, it would have affected him. Anyone would have had that affected. And as an adoptive mom, I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God. So you just have to kind of really work on educating others. And there's some people that can't be educated about it. And then there's some that you can take the time and really work through. Those people that said, well, do you love your real mom better than your bio mom, or, you know, whatever. And it's like, those kind of conversations need to change inside of our society in general. So between you and I think we both have that shared purpose. We're educating, and stories that we share and the things make it more real and more tangible for people to understand. For instance, how you are, how adoptive families are, or even how bio moms feel. And I think one of the things
100%.
that Wendy has said, my son's biological mom, is that, you know, she says, you've always put me on such a big pedestal. And she goes, sometimes I didn't think I lived up to that. You've always treated me with such kindness and respect. I'm like, you deserve that. You know, and I think that people forget that the bio moms deserve that. They get the short end of the stick sometime because they couldn't, you know, she was 18 or whatever, you know, so, but that gives so many mixed feelings. So like, tell me, you've described yourself in your bio as someone that had mixed feelings about adoption. Tell me a little bit about why that was.
I mean, exactly, you know, everything you say, I totally agree with. You know, I think at first there was kind of feelings of a lot more feelings of sadness and anger of like, why couldn't she, like, my birth mom have kept me? Like, why did she have to give me up? Why did she choose to not give any information to me or my adoptive family? Like, why did she leave so much unknowns, this and that? And so there was these feelings of like anger and depression for sure that were making me feel some type of way. But you know, I also know that every adoption is different. I mean, like you said, like the birth moms getting the short end of the stick, you know, a lot of times they are younger or they're in situations where they literally cannot bring up a child and they want to, whether it is like a forced choice or not. I mean, they are going the adoption route to give that child hopefully a better life. And you know, and so that's kind of always been in the back of my mind too. You know, in Korea, I know they have certain like standards and ways they look at single moms, and I think that was my birth mom's case, and they're very family oriented there. And so I think just like I used to have a lot more feelings of like anger about it, but now it's kind of just more, I just look back and I'm just very grateful. I mean, there are still things that I wish I knew, I wish I could do. Um, but I am so lucky to have the life that I do have.
Right.
And, you know, she gave me that. I wish I could tell her like how things are going. I
You
wish
will
I could see
someday.
what you
Whether
know,
it's here or somewhere else, you
I
will.
hope.
Mhm.
I mean, that, and I think that's another, um, with it being closed, that's been something that's always lingered with me. So, with the mixed feelings, I am so genuinely grateful and blessed. I mean, I really am. But the feeling of
Yeah.
unknown
The piece is
around,
missing.
yeah, I don't know who I am as, you know, if I go to the doctor and they ask for my family history, I can't
Uh-huh.
give them anything.
Mhm.
I don't know what my birth parents look like, so I
Yep.
can't like say like, oh, I got this or that from my birth mom or birth dad. I don't know what they look like. And so that stuff, and knowing that I might not ever meet her or know who she is, that really affects me. And
Yeah.
so even though those are feelings that I really struggle to get through, when
Mhm.
I can still just look at like how my life is today, the
Mhm.
incredible family and friends and support system I do have, that just reminds me like you know, everything was meant to be.
Yeah.
So
And you're a little baddie. So
I try to be for sure.
oh, she could see you now. I'm teasing. She probably was too, right?
I
I bet you got that
I
from her. Little firecracker, right?
yeah,
So,
but yeah.
if you had to, okay, so how do you cope with those unknowns now that you're talking about them? Like when you say it really affects you, obviously it would anybody. I mean, even whenever I take Seth to the doctor and his biological dad was adopted. So I only know a certain point of Seth's biological history, and his birth dad was gone, passed away by the time he was 24. So like for us, we have some, but he didn't live long enough to give us a long history. His birth mom, we've got her history for the most part. She's pretty young still. We have all her side, but we don't, it stops at his biological dad. So we don't know anything above that because he was adopted as well. So I kind of understand that journey of like, well, he's got this heart murmur. We have no idea where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
Asthma, allergies, all those things we know, but like, where did all this happen? Or a seizure during a fever, all those things. And you're like, I don't know. But hopefully, those pieces as they fill in when you either have children of your own or not, sometimes those things can be like, you can be the start of that. So it would give somebody else that fulfillment. Hopefully that'll be fulfilling for you later. So, but what do you hope to accomplish? Like before Nicole's done with life, like when you're at the end of the road, what is your biggest things that you want to accomplish?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question, and it's so loaded. Great question though.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I look up to people. I mean, I honestly, I look up to people like you, Shannon, so much who just, you're beautiful and you know that you are passionate and powerful and have this incredible platform to share those passions. And, like you had said previously in your story, just how you want to draw that attention to your passions and what you believe in. And I respect that so much, and that is truly how I am too. I mean, I want to be able to educate people on topics. I want to get educated on topics that I, lack knowledge on. And I just want to build awareness, create a community of people who, have people that are like them and can be themselves, ask questions in a comfortable environment. I want to be a change maker for sure. I'm
There
not
it
sure
is.
how or why, or I know why. I'm not sure like how I'm going to do it, like what specifically, but I really want to be, um, I've just been blessed to have so many mentors in my life. I want to be like a combination of all those people. I just really want to be the change in the world, whatever way that is. And I'm still navigating and figuring that out as I get older. But I want to leave behind a very good, memorable, incredible legacy. And, I have people in my life who I've lost. And just, it just reminds me how short life is and how, you really don't know when your last day is going to be sometimes. And so I just want to be able to look back and say like, you know, I'm so proud that I published a book because that was on my
Mhm.
bucket list. And I'm so proud that I made a difference here. So I just want to be that change in the
Well, you're
world.
doing it. You're a dynamic young woman. So anything you step your foot on is going to be a changed thing. So I will say, too, one thing I said to Seth the other day, because he's like, I want to mentor people, but I don't think I'm anywhere near being a good mentor. Like, because I have, he's still got so many things he's working through. 16. And I said to him, I said, do you know what it takes to be a mentor? And he's like, no, what? I said, a daily conversation with people that you bring up and maybe infect a possible change. So, I said to him, like, if you ever said to somebody, have you ever thought about doing this? Or have you ever thought about blah, blah, blah? And he was like, that's all I got to say. And like, if you say that to somebody and all of a sudden they shift what they're doing, their entire life could change because of one thing you said. I had a woman that stopped me at church this morning and she said, you said something to me last year. You said that I know that you're going to be doing big things. And you saw that in me there. And she goes, and now I'm here and all these doors are opening. And she goes, Shannon, you called it. I didn't call it. That was just me noticing that there's a bigger purpose in your life. And just by me simply stating that is a change making machine. And they never are the same after those words come out of your mouth. And I said, and it's hard because then you don't want to say the wrong things to people, but if you're only building up and growing, that's good. Oh, by the way, Nicole, Lisa said that you should talk a little bit more about your awesome family.
They're great and I love them and I am very blessed to have them. And yeah, Mom, you know how great you are. How great.
It's mama.
Mama. But no, yes, I have a wonderful family. But that is awesome that Seth is doing that because age and I saw, I see facets of myself and him in that situation because when I had to like officially like came out and told people like I'm gonna write a book and it's gonna be a memoir. I was 23 at the time and people were like, weren't you like
Yeah.
young, like to do that? Like, what life experiences do I have? And I'm like, what don't I have to
Uh-huh.
talk about? I mean, I'm like, it does not, age does not
Nope.
matter. I mean, if you have that drive in you and, you know, I mean, just doing it. And so, and he can absolutely be a mentor, despite his age.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, that is the change in the world. And
100%.
so, yeah,
I've been
I think
involved with
that's
children's
awesome.
ministry for 2 decades now, and I can tell you there's kids that have had a greater impact on my life than any adult has ever had. And
Hmm.
so I don't ever shortchange the youngins. They can be as young as 8 and look you in the eye, and all you see is yourself in them, and they make you shift. So it's pretty
100%.
cool.
And you know,
So
I think whether it's people like, because and what I admire about you, Shannon, is like, you know, you're using like your social media platforms and how well known you are in your community to, you know, elevate the topics and draw that attention to that. And there are some, and I think that's what I want to do too. You know, whether it is adoption or whatever it is that someone's passionate about, there's so many ways that you can be that change. It doesn't have to be like you have to have a massive social media following or something like that. I mean, you can be 16 and you can go be a mentor for
yeah,
someone in elementary school and like talk to them about adoption or racial identity or whatever it is. And so I would want people to keep that in mind. I mean, there's so
well,
many ways you can
we get in
positively
our own
affect someone.
ways. You know what I'm saying? We like get in our own way when we're trying to do this, and we're like, I don't really want to go talk to that person right
Yeah.
now. But you know what? Honestly, you may be the only one that can. And so if you just start doing it, and everyone overthinks, like for instance, you're saying social media, everyone overthinks social media. Just start
Hmm.
doing it and just showing up every day, showing up, doing something to be able to impact your cause. And that is so key with the people that are in your life. So, but you know, you have people, and one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was that you have advice for people that want to pursue a dream or something they don't know where to start. Me and you are talking about that right now, and it's
Hmm.
just start doing something.
Yeah, you just have to do it because there's so much, you know, I think time
Mm-hmm.
also is like the biggest factor that people have
Yeah.
that stops them from pursuing whatever it is they want to do. Um, we all have, you know, the same 24 hours in a day. It just all depends how you want to use it. And yeah, if you have that drive in you, there's always going to be like unknowns, uncertainties, and things that are going to
Or
scare you from
financial
starting,
stress.
or financials, absolutely.
Yeah.
But when you can just literally like, you know, dig down and act like just fully start on it. I mean, that is the first step toward so much progress. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just 1% better every day, like one small step of progress. And the social media thing, I always like to tell people, you know, because I manage social media for
Uh-huh.
a living, and people will say that it can be toxic culture or things like that. It's all about like what do you want to see on your feed, you know, what do you want to align yourself with. And so I want to follow people who make me laugh, make inspire me, and I like watching cooking videos, and I like looking at memes. But like that's like the type of community I like to surround myself with. I try to do that as well, like in my personal life. Like, you know, who am I super close with, who am I talking to every day, who's making me feel like a better person, and who can I help do that the same way. And so yeah, I think it's like whatever someone's dream is, it's aligning yourself with the right kind of people, you know, putting the right kind of content and inspiration in front of you from a digital social media standpoint that really does inspire you and motivate you. And then, yeah, just literally starting it because you're never going to look back. And usually, and it's just like kind of like if you'd go to the gym to work out and like you're really hesitant on it, once you usually get to the gym,
You're fine.
like you're Gucci. Yeah, you're
You're
fine. And
fine.
it's the same thing with like just starting whatever your dream is. Once you can like just
Yeah.
start, like, just do something. I mean, from
Conditioning.
there, yeah, it is conditioning.
I mean, if you think about the first time you jump in, you know, those people that do I don't know what they're called, ice baths.
Oh my
And
God,
like the
yeah.
first time you're like, I am not. And then you're like, but there's benefits. And they're like, well, maybe I'll stick my toe in. No, just get in. And then once you do it once, you're like, okay, I did it. And then you just keep doing it. And all of a sudden you have to do it. And it's a part of your life. And you have to figure out, okay, now I got to do this and that. So it's like you see the benefits, and the benefits start to roll in. It's hard. Like people, I get the hard part. Like for us, sometimes, Nicole, we're pretty social people. So sometimes we get tripped up with like that. So hang on. But honestly, it's not that hard when you get the ball
Mm-hmm.
rolling and you just start doing it.
100%. That's all it really is.
Excuse me.
Because like I like to look up like inspirational quotes and things like that on like where do you want to be a year from now? Do you
Right?
want to be doing the same thing? Or like, and I'm like, I don't want to be doing the same thing, like for
No,
sure. So
that's boring.
it is boring. Totally.
We got to shift. We got to shift. And it's even the people in our lives sometimes, if somebody doesn't serve you anymore, it's not that you want to toss them aside, but maybe they're just dragging you backwards and you didn't really realize it. So I think those are very key things to notice.
Absolutely.
So when you think of Nicole right now, how do you describe yourself? I know I didn't prep you on this question, but let's
No,
try.
that's okay. I would say I am very bubbly. I am passionate. I am dedicated, disciplined, driven, and capable.
Capable.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
Thank you.
Iconic. Someone says
I
iconic.
am iconic. Actually, she's right.
I would
She's
have
right.
to
I am iconic.
agree 100% on that one.
Yeah, I
You
am
get some
iconic.
fans.
Respectfully, I am iconic. But yeah, and I think emphasis though on the word capable because it's still something I'm working on with myself. Struggling with confidence and self-worth, and it's stuff I talk about in my book. I think, my adoption can play into it, racial issues and things like that. I really do try to surround myself with the right people who remind me like I am capable, like I can do what I set my mind to, um, and things like that. So yeah,
I've seen you do it, so I know you can. But your book, the title of your book is Onward Upward. I think Onward and Upward is such a key message all across life. Like get onward and upward. In fact, on my computer, I don't know that you can't see my computer because it's like down here, but it says on my computer, keep moving forward.
mm-hmm.
That's like something I've put on my computer. I have a bunch of stuff. One of the words iconic is on there as well. So,
Love
but
that.
I've got all these motivational quotes all over my base of my where I type every day. And I'm like, integrity stands the test of time and feeling like a boss today, original, always lead, never follow, always keep moving forward. And I think that's the key here. When it comes to adoption, I feel like we're pushing this stuff so fast and so much more forward. I want to get really loud. And I know there's a lot of people we're uniting with, but the senators are starting to see things and we're starting to see things. And your book is going to be part of that as well. But if you haven't, you guys get on, I don't know where they can find your book now.
Amazon.
I know you have some Amazon. Okay, so Onward and Upward. And your title of your name on there, you might have to spell it out so they can write it down. So it's Nicole, or it's
Yep.
Nicole, and then spell your last name for them.
Buntgen.
N. So if you look up that Onward and Upward on Amazon, you can buy her book and support this amazing author. She is fantastic, and she has so much in that book that I think people really will be able to derive from, even if you're not an adoptee or in an adoptive family. So I think that, we have so much to cover in such a short amount of time, but I feel like we've got a lot covered. But what kind of final thoughts do you want to say today to anyone that can hear it in the adoptive world around us? Like give those final moment thoughts and then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, I would just say, like your kind of slogan per se is adoption is an option. I mean, it is a beautiful way to, bring people from different walks of life together and create a family and give a child that opportunity, give a family that opportunity. Um, you know, never judging a book by its cover. And like I had said, how, yeah, with adoption, many people might only assume it's like families of two different races, and that's not always the case. And you never know why someone chose adoption.
Mm-hmm.
And just whatever is in your heart that you believe in, that you want to advocate for, educate people on, or just raise awareness on, whether that is adoption or something else. I mean, when you can take that step and speak up about what you believe in and stand up for that, I mean, the world is your oyster in a way, and you don't have to have a giant social media following or anything like that. I mean, it's just getting
We
yourself
can
out
grow.
there, and we, yeah, we can grow that for sure. But I think it's just putting your heart into whatever you believe in, and the more this for us especially, like the more that we can connect as an adoptive community and raise that awareness and educate people, I mean, it's only going to grow from there, and the rest is history. And when there's things that come in your way that might limit you, I mean, onward and upward.
I love
Things will always get
that.
better.
So good. And you know, I got some stuff coming up in the near future that you and I are going to probably partner with. You'll want to be involved with. So I'm
I love it.
excited about some things, and we're going to do some fun stuff over the next year. So, but yes, your book is Onward and Upward. And Nicole mentioned you, my girl, are a dynamic, baddie, iconic, all of the things, capable. I'm so thankful that you joined me on the Adoption Connection, because adoption is an option and you are made for a purpose. And I appreciate your time today talking to our viewers. And I will say, everyone that's on here, please share this. Once I get it posted, go ahead and take and share it to your stories. Tell everyone you know about this platform and Nicole's book. And we just want to get the word out. And if you guys have anything that you want us to be a part of when it comes to adoption, please reach out to us via messenger, however you would like. But Nicole, thank you for your time. You're gorgeous. You're amazing. I'm excited that you're on today, and we will be talking soon. Love
That sounds good. Thank you so
you,
much,
friend.
Shannon. I love you.
All right, girl. You can go ahead and hit end, and I will end on that
Okay.
note. Thank you. Love you. We'll see ya.
Love you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know the sunshine kind of moved into my space here, so thank you again for joining. And please make sure you follow her at Nicole, and she is an author. So I will be sure to tag her in the description here, but be sure to share it and let everyone you know. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.